Question number 7, Bill Twyford.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is for the Minister for Building and Housing. How many houses have been completed as a result of the $52.2 million Crown land policy he announced in Budget 2015?
The Honourable Bill English.
On behalf of the Minister for Building and Housing, land purchase agreements have been finalised for 8 parcels of land, and negotiations are underway for a further 27 parcels. Over the next month, we expect to make announcements on development agreements for these sites, which could provide around 1,000 homes. In Budget 2015, we said the first homes would take at least 18 months to get underway, and less than a year later, it's not surprising that none have actually been completed, but they are on track.
Order. Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Why did he claim in the House yesterday that developments at Weymouth and Hobsonville were completed under the program when they were both begun before he'd even announced it? Or is he now claiming credit for every random house built in Auckland to make it look like his failed scheme is actually working?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, of course, Weymouth is one the Minister was heavily involved with, and it seems to have made, by any standard, remarkable progress, but I'd have to say in the first 12 months it didn't succeed in getting houses built. You do have to follow the process. For instance, iwi have rights under the treaty settlements related to this land, and those rights have to be respected. That takes time.
Supplementary, Mr
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
How does he expect his Crown land scheme to make a significant difference to Auckland housing supply when it's taken so long to get off the ground and looks like it will be less than 1/3 of the 500 hectares he and the Prime Minister promised? Or has he identified more cemeteries and power substations to build on?
The Honourable Bill English, either of those two questions.
Well, Mr Speaker, it will help certainly help in the context of what I think is record building consents from the data that's been published in the last few days. It'll have the same sort of impact as similar schemes had in Christchurch. The members should feel free to look at the Crown land program in Christchurch, because in relatively short order, about 18 months, it's now starting to produce a larger number of reasonably priced homes that middle-income families can afford.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
Why does he trumpet today's consent figures as some kind of success when the 12-month rate of 9,500 won't even house the new migrants who have settled in Auckland over that period, let alone the 13,000 new dwellings a year Auckland needs, or the 40,000 shortfall that is built up under his watch?
That's right. The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, the Auckland City Council can always do more. It can always become faster at issuing consents on subdivisions. It can always become a lot faster at issuing its building consents, sorting out its issues with water care, and ensuring that communities are properly consulted. They have got quite a bit faster, but they've got some way to go yet.
Supplementary, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, Phil Twyford.
How can he try to spin an annual consent rate of 9,500 in Auckland as a success when his own housing accord sets the target for this year at 17,000 new dwellings? So he's missing his own target by 7,500 new homes.
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, the member, despite being an Auckland member, doesn't seem to understand that the Auckland City Council make those decisions. The Minister is not the consenting authority. The Auckland City Council are the ones who have to sign off every single thing, from the pavement to the height of the chimney. And the faster they can do that, the better. I share the members' concerns and have had the chance to share them with the Auckland City Council, that if they could go faster, that would be better, but they're going faster than they ever have in the last 10 years.
Question